Was there a right answer? So, let's see. Let's look this up and see what happens. Thymesia endings. Ending guide. Let's see. Endings in Thymesia are locked behind various boss cores you find throughout the game. If you rush through the game without doing any optional subquests, there's only one ending. You must defeat the 4 optional bosses, God of Fools, Mutated Odur, Sound of the Abyss, and Erd, to obtain the other 4, which I now have. These cores also allow you to unlock more lore. You can obtain 2 pieces of lore per core, one for showing the core to Asami, and another by showing the core to Emerald. These bits of lore offer hints as to which cores lead to which endings. Wait, what? You can show cores to Asami. Show item. Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't even notice any of this. Okay, let's show this. Transformation. The transformed are very unique beings. We use alchemy to give the infected a new life. However, that comes at a cost. But I sometimes wonder where you come from. What kind of person were you before? When teacher brought you here, she would not tell me. She said that researchers should not get too close to experiments. Okay. I remember the stories of Brad. I think one of your very early supporter friend IRL of you talking about a girl fangirling you have had you meet your sub IRL while you're on. Oh, okay. So no, it was Chris found out, it was talking to a coworker and they were talking about Guild Wars 2 and he mentioned my name and she was like, wait, you know him? Yeah. And fangirling is a strong word, but yeah, she was excited. Have I ever? No, I have never gone out. Well, one, I never go outside, but I've never like gone out to the store or anything like that and had someone recognize me. I am what I would say is big fish, small pond. I'm well known within a small circle, and I have not come across other people in that circle while I'm outside. Let's see. Odur's fused core. That was the guy with the top hat. Odur has already become obsessed with alchemy research. It's clear from Experiment 1 that a mixture of pure blood and vile blood within an organism will produce uncontrollable mutations. What incomparable power when you look so terrifying. His vile core, when he had tentacles. This was taken from Odur? This is much too strange. As the ringmaster of the circus, Odur has received large amounts of pure blood. Yet why is there vile blood in his body? This does not look right. I think you need to head back to the Sea of Fools and gather more information. Sound of the Abyss was that giant worm? You were saying there was a creature in the underground lab that feeds on vile blood and is more ferocious than the Queen? It's hard to believe without having seen it with my own eyes. If it had continued to grow, it's hard to imagine what would have happened. The Queen, the giant bat thing. I've never seen a core like this. Pure blood and vile blood fused together. In a normal experiment, no one would purposefully cause the subject to mutate. But perhaps this will result in a completely different formula. As for what the actual effects will be, I will have to conduct further research. Erd was the lady that we fought just like an hour ago? You were merely following my commands, doing what you ought to do. When the incident occurred, my sister was largely responsible. Oh, Asami was Erd's sister? For her, I will reverse what has been done. Varg was the big dude with the sword we took out yesterday? Varg is a silent warrior. His actions speak for themselves, sacrificing himself for Hermes' kingdom. Enjoy your slumber, valiant warrior. The core of you shall be remembered as your final offering to Hermes. God of the Fool's Vile Core. It's said that Odur has long known of our research project concerning the Transformed. By means of self-study alone, he has managed to create this enormous puppet. Perhaps this is the reason why you took the Vile Core from Odur. He's still alive, and his research continues. Hermes Answer Research Notebook. That's the device I helped teacher develop. Its function is to spread pure blood over a wide area to protect people of the kingdom from the plague. While the structure itself is important, the formula that is placed within is what matters most, and that's what I need you to find. Okay, so that's the lore that you get for talking to her about this stuff. Alright. How to unlock all endings. After defeating the final boss, you'll be teleported back to Philosopher's Hill, where you will be locked into a conversation with Asami. She'll ask you which combination of cores went into Hermes' answer. You will then be prompted to pick 2. The cores you pick decide which ending you get. Upon viewing an ending, make sure to select No when asked, is this the truth? This will take you back to Philosopher's Hill, where you can view more endings by defeating the final boss again. Oh, I have to defeat the final boss again. I'm not doing that. Let's see. So, Chaotic Power. This ending is triggered by combining any 2 cores that are not used in one of the endings below. Alright, so this one reads, the effects of Hermes' answer permeated the entire kingdom. An unknown chaotic power slowly corroded the land, affecting each individual differently. Some organisms turned into monsters, while some monsters were miraculously healed. The transformed, however, they grew inconceivably grotesque. I think this might have been the one that I got. Alchemy is a sophisticated practice that ought not be wantonly used. Even a few minuscule changes can produce a cascade of unpredictable results. Perhaps if more details could be recalled, things would turn out different. The Fool's God core plus Sound of the Abyss's core. The effects of Hermes' answer diffused throughout the kingdom. The power of vile blood seeping into all organisms, the high purity of the concoction finally putting an end to the plague. Humans grew unrecognizably grotesque, the creatures grew more ferocious, and the transformed started killing each other, feeding on the disease. The world that humans once knew slowly began to perish. Oh wait, no, hold on. I did not get the first one as the ending. Corvus emerged from Philosopher's Hill alone. Perhaps this was the beginning of the new stage of evolution. Alright. Varg's core plus Erd's core. The effects of Hermes' answer permeate through the kingdom. All organisms were granted with the blessing of pure blood. The pain and suffering gradually faded from the land. The wandering creatures' powers waned, and they eventually perished. Those who had been blessed, on the other hand, grew ever stronger. Though the monsters had disappeared, ambitious power seekers grew greater in number. Various power factions sought to lure in researchers, and all kingdoms struggled to gain control of the alchemical sciences. Asmi and Corvus left the kingdom with the research obtained from Hermes' answer. They knew that those who had been corrupted by power would always lust for more, lusting for a power that could change the world. If you turn a mutated Odor's core plus the Hanged Queen's core, the effects of Hermes' answer diffused throughout the kingdom, the perfectly balanced energy seeping into all organisms. The harmonized forces neutralized all reactions to both pure and vile blood. All who had been enhanced by the alchemy gradually lost their powers, and Hermes was left with nothing but ordinary folk, who were tasked with rebuilding the entire kingdom. Though Hermes was safe for the time being, the threat of the plague still loomed. The problem was not the alchemy, but those who would abuse it. Knowing this, Asmi resumed her research. Perhaps one day the plague would be quelled. Oh, you know what? I think... Well, I don't know. What is this one? Alright, so there's one more here. This one is the secret ending, combining mutated Odor's core plus the Hanged Queen's core, then move the control stick around during the ending cutscene. What? As Hermes' answer coursed through Corvus's body, his memory seeped into it. The giant tree spread this newfound energy throughout the land, and a harmonious balance of pure and vile blood was bestowed upon all beings. That is when they realized the power of the tragedy, alchemy. The source of all the tragedy was alchemy. Even though Corvus had passed away, his memories affected future generations, causing them to consider the real reason for alchemy's existence. A world that was once on the edge of extinction was now headed towards a brighter future. Perhaps one day the plague will disappear, but until then people must learn how to coexist with it. Okay. Alright. So those are the different endings. So basically, you know, with the different boss pieces, some of them have pure blood, some of them have vile blood, and some of them have a mixture of the two. You basically put them together in some way and propagate it, and either you cure everyone, or make everyone super powerful, or make everyone monsters, or just kill lots of people and you're the only one standing. And that's it. Okay. Chat, I do believe it's review time. We are at the end of Thymesia, and we have a tradition on the channel. Anytime we finish a game, I talk about, you know, basically how the game was and give like my thoughts on it. So first off, Thymesia, obviously it's a Souls-like. Anyone who's been here more than 5 minutes knows that. It's a Souls-like game. I was told it's like 5 to 10 hours. It took me longer than that. I would say it took me close to 15. But, you know, there were some bosses that took me like an hour of attempts to kill. But that's okay. Going into it, graphics, pretty good. You know, kind of grimdark. Kind of Dark Souls 1-ish, you know. I would say they're above good. I wouldn't say they're like stellar. But the graphics are nice, they're serviceable, they show you the information you need to see. So no complaints there. Sound design is pretty good. Music is good. Nothing that ever made me, like, you know, headbang my head or anything like that. But the sound design is really good. Like, you could rely on sounds for parrying and dodging. So sound cues, of course, are very important in a game like this, and they were extremely solid. So that was nice. Then we had, you know, gameplay. The controls for the game: WASD to move, left click to use the sword, right click to use the claws, and, well, I had rebounds a few things, I just realized, and then you got another button for parry. Parry actually has a pretty short cooldown, because you can alternate parrying between your two arms, and sometimes you use that, because sometimes a boss will do like 3 attacks in a second, and you could parry all of them if you clicked your button fast enough. Then you had plague weapons. Plague weapons, there are some that you can steal from enemies. This is one I stole from an enemy, and now it's expended, it's gone. And then there are ones that you can permanently have on you and spend your green energy bar on the bottom left to use them. And you build that green energy by just landing blows on enemies and parrying attacks and stuff like that. That system was pretty nice, I would say. Because the way that it worked is like, you know, the first time you beat an enemy with a greatsword, you might get the greatsword plague weapon. And then the more you kill more enemies with greatswords, you get more shards of the greatsword plague weapon, and you could upgrade your greatsword plague weapon. So finding more shards of the same weapon will upgrade it, which was nice. But some of the shards only came from a boss. So, like, you know, this one, the harpoon sword thing, this came from Erd, so I would need to go fight Erd more to get more shards of this. Now, I wasn't in love with that ability, so it was fine. So this whole system is kind of neat. However, at the same time, you had no inventory in this game, other than picking up keys and souls that you would consume for, you know, souls, and then Alchemy Enhancer is just a potion upgrade, and Forgotten Feather was a respec. There is no inventory. And, okay, fine. I would say I didn't love it. I like going through the inventory and stuff like that and managing it and, you know, deciding, like, what I'm going to wear, my build, and stuff like that. This game, in one small way, reminded me of Sekiro. You are this guy. These are your weapons. You cannot change that. This isn't Elden Ring. You can't do a greatsword build and a bow run and a sorcery run and a pyromancy run and then a faith build. No, this is you. That's it. You do have a few points that you get when you level, and you can put those into various things, such as your strength, which increases physical damage and wounds, plague, which is your claw damage and your energy, and vitality, which is just hit points. However, also, and I still don't really understand this, at the beginning, every time I leveled up, I also got a talent point. Then I went through like 5 levels and I didn't get any more talent points. I don't know if there's a cap or something. And because of that, I was not able to get everything in here. And even some of the things in here are a choice. Like you see this right here. Once you get down to this point, you got to make a choice here. You cannot have all 3 of these. And that's true for a lot of them, like the short dodge versus long dodge. This is a big decision. So some of these were pretty cool, and some of the choices were nice. I'll say I like the talents. I like the plague weapons. I would have also liked to have been able to customize my character a bit, but at the same time, I realized that that's just not the game they were going for. I'm just sharing my own personal preferences here. Let's see. The boss fights and the game as a whole felt challenging but fair. I don't think I ever really got super frustrated, and I think that's a good example of this. Like, you know, I was playing Terraria Calamity Mod the other day, and I was getting really pissed off. And part of it is stuff would happen that just seemed completely unfair. Like, I'd get too close to the roof of the game, and my summons would all despawn because they'd bug out, you know, stuff like that. But if I'm getting my butt kicked, but it's a fair butt kicking, then it's like, okay, I'll, you know, I improve, and then I conquer it, and then I move on. And so, like, the game felt fair. There was never any, like, oh, that's BS, I totally parried that, what the hell? You know, like, that just, I don't think ever happened. Usually, if I got hit, it felt like skill issue on me, and then I would improve, and then I would eventually get through it. And that's good. That's good. Story, like most Souls games, I'm confused as hell. I have no idea what's going on. So yeah, the story in this game, super cryptic. I can't understand freaking what's going on. There's a plague or something, and we're either making it better or making it worse. Why, it says like memories, like you remember what happened, but one of the endings is you died. So how do we remember that I died? Because like if me standing here in town is supposed to be like after the end of the game and then we're replaying the events, it makes no sense that one of the endings is me died. Yeah, stuff like that. So it's interesting. I couldn't follow it worth the damn. I'd have to watch a video or something about it. I know there's a pure blood, there's a vile blood, there's people doing experiments, there's a circus guy who's insane, and some other stuff. Like that's what I picked up from it. Mechanics. The health bar mechanic, where you hit an enemy with physical attacks or parries and you break their gray health and it exposes green health. Then you have to hit the green health with your claws or a plague weapon in order to destroy the gray health. If you hit destroy gray health but you didn't destroy the green, after a few seconds the gray will fill back up. It was an interesting system. I didn't hate it. It basically made it to where it forced you to swap back and forth between two weapons in your arsenal. And also, it made it to where you needed to keep up some amount of pressure on the boss. Even if it's just occasionally throwing a feather at them, you needed to not go like 5 to 10 seconds without hitting them, or they would start to recover. And I think the end result was okay. There was still the satisfaction of making permanent progress when you destroyed their green health, but at the same time, you kind of felt like the boss would heal if you didn't keep the pressure on. There was a couple of bosses that healed even their gray health, like the queen, the giant bat would, but that wasn't common. It was like 1 or 2. So, overall, the mechanic as a whole, I dig it. I was fine with it. It was totally okay. Parrying, I've mentioned this twice before, but one final time on the way out. At the beginning of the game, I tried parrying, and it was a delayed parry. It was like, I click button, animation happens, the parry occurs at the end of the animation. It had a delay. Because of that, I was constantly missing it, I couldn't land it, and I was like, alright, this is kind of like a Dark Souls or an Elden Ring parry, I'm just going to play the game using the dodge heavily. And I got all the way to the final boss with that, and then I started to struggle really bad. And someone in chat suggested putting a bunch of points into the parry skills on the talent tree, and I was stubborn for a while, but eventually I did, and it basically changed the parry to be instant. Like, the moment you click the button, the parry occurs. So then I was like, oh wait, I could do this now, and then I was able to start parrying tons of stuff. Because then it became like the parry system in Lies of P, or Grounded, which I am decent at. So that's the thing as well. Played the game on keyboard and mouse, and it was totally fine. I assume you can play on controller. Yeah, you can play on controller. So I played it on keyboard and mouse, and it was totally fine. No complaints there. I try to think if there was anything else. Looking at controls again, I was trying to remember if there was, because I'm playing a few different games at the same time right now. I don't think there was anything I really had a complaint about. Should lock on, use potion, interact, walk. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good. The controls were pretty solid. It didn't have that nonsense like sprint and dodge are on the same button like Lies of P. It didn't have anything like that. I think everything here was pretty solid. But yeah, overall, for a Souls-like, this game was pretty short. Again, we got about 15 hours of it, and we 100%ed it. I enjoyed it. It was fun. If there were any more games in this franchise, I would totally play them. Hope you guys enjoyed it too.